Welcome to One Thought at a Time with Ian Travers, where we get curious about what makes us tick. I'm here today with a man who can bring us a taste of Christmas. Welcome, Mark Jackson.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Well, it's great to have you, just you, and not with the other chap as well. What's his name?
Ant on deck. Yeah, he's Ant on deck. Yeah. Somebody did call us once the Ant on deck of the motor world, but I'm not. I will take that. I think we'll take that. To be fair,
Well, for those who may not know, let's just start off then, Mark. With what do you do? How do you spend your time?
During the day and evenings and weekends. Let's start with during the day. I'm the dare I say managing director of a Christmas pudding company called Coles Puddings, if I can drop their name.
You absolutely can.
And
have you brought any with you?
I haven't. No. They're flying out the door so quick. Yeah. So we manufacture Christmas puddings mainly. We do some steam puddings as well, like Spotty Dick and golden syrup and strawberry and that sort of thing. But we mainly sort of like concentrate on Christmas puddings.
Excellent.
We get a lot of people say, I don't know whether I've ever had a Christmas pudding, a Coles Christmas pudding. You probably have at some point, because we don't just do Coles label. We do lots of own label for other bigger companies. As far as I can say, big department stores in London.
Okay.
That's enough to say, yeah.
Okay, yes.
And various like breweries. We do quite a lot of work with breweries because we put their beer in a Christmas pudding. So
Right.
it gives a connection to that brewery.
So is it more, dare I say, kind of top-end type Christmas puddings?
Very much so.
Yeah.
Very much top end. Yeah, we don't deal with the national grocers at all. It's very much like farm shops, delis, garden centres,
Right.
which are being fed by wholesalers. So we supply to wholesalers. We do supply to a few local people direct, but it's normally through a wholesale base. And we do a little bit online as well.
And how long has the company been going for?
Started in 1939.
Right.
I wasn't there on the day it opened,
No.
even though I might feel that hole sometimes. And it started off in the small town of Saffron Walden as a bakery.
Right.
So it was very much loaves of bread rolls, little tiny cakes, all that sort of thing, and servicing the local community.
Yeah.
And it was owned by a guy called Albert Cole, and he had two sons, Tim and Chris, and Chris found an old family recipe for Christmas pudding, made it, wanted to sell it. I believe the story, as I know it, is that Albert said, "Look, don't waste your time with that. We do bread rolls, we do loaves of bread. It's been good enough for me. It'll be good enough for you, kind of thing." But if you've ever met or know Chris, he's not going to take that. He's not going to take that. So he started making more of them, and they sold really well. And it did start becoming part of the kind of Christmas offering in the business. When he took the business over in the late 70s, he had this thought of really getting away from the bakery, going into Christmas puddings. He had a purpose-built factory made just outside Saffron Walden in Great Chesterford.
Okay.
In the late 80s, and that was when the business really went over to that side of it and started doing. I think we do somewhere in the region of about 24 different recipes now.
And is this a British thing, or is there export?
We do export, not a great deal, but we do. Like alcohol-free Christmas puddings, we export out of Dubai.
Right.
And we do a little bit of export in America. Germany, France. Yeah, there's been various. Japan even.
Right.
About 4 or 5 years ago, the Hankyu Express department store in Japan got in touch with us and said, we're doing a kind of on a lead up to Christmas, we're doing a typical British. Literally, they had like an Aston Martin in the shop and a Rolls Royce, and they had fish and chips in cones and all sorts of things. And they wanted to bring Christmas puddings in, and we supplied the sixpence. And they were literally saying, right, you buy Christmas pudding, you get a sixpence with it.
Right.
If you buy 2 Christmas puddings, you get another sixpence, and so on. If you buy 3 Christmas puddings, we'll take back the sixpences and we'll give you a King George sixpence instead of a Queen Elizabeth.
Wow. Genuine articles.
Oh, yeah. So they had about, I think it was about 11,000 sixpences they had off of us and all the puddings.
That, I guess, is playing to the tradition, isn't it, of you would find a sixpence in the pudding.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Before elfin safety.
Very much so. Yeah, I mean, we do a pudding that we call a sing-a-song a sixpence Christmas pudding.
Right.
And it comes with the sixpence glued on the outer packaging.
Right.
Because we can't put it in the pudding anymore. I mean, we'd get absolutely. Yeah,
can you imagine?
The press would go mad if somebody broke a tooth or a child choked or something like that. That'd be the. I don't think we'd be making many more puddings after that.
Yeah.
So we glue it on the front, and we just suggest that everybody puts it underneath the plate when they serve it to the table, and then everyone can look under the plate and see who's the lucky finder and get good wealth and health and everything for the rest of the year. But
as opposed to a visit to the dentist.
I don't know if there's many dentists open on Boxing Day, so it's probably
depends how much you want to pay.
Yeah. Perhaps we could do some deal with the dental association or something, couldn't we?
You never know.
Yeah, but no, I don't think we will. I don't think we will. No, we'll pass that.
So in terms of the Christmas pudding industry. It must be a statement of the blind and the obvious, but it's seasonal.
very seasonal.
But how does that seasonality affect the business? I mean, is it a case of you make it a lot at one time of the year and then you're...
No, we'll come back in on the 2nd of January and we are making Christmas puddings and we're building stock because we basically spend like the first 3 or 4 months. I mean, I'm generalising a little bit here, but basically the first 3 or 4 months is doing the Coles branded puddings.
Right.
And then by April time, we've got that free production space to start doing own label puddings for the breweries and for catering and so on and so on and so on. So yeah, we're straight out the blocks on
So
the 2nd of January.
It's seasonal as far as consumption, but you're making Christmas puddings all year.
Oh yeah.
Do you like Christmas pudding?
Yes.
I wonder whether one of those things. I mean, I know people who worked at like chocolate factories and they wouldn't touch it because I forget which manufacturer it was, but I think their thing is if you work on the chocolate line, you can eat as much as you want.
Yeah, a lot of them do that.
Yeah,
because it stops that. You go, yeah, great for about 3 days, and then you don't have any more of that. And it stops that leakage of where's that stock gone, doesn't it? But no, I mean, I always say I'm the worst person to ask. So when we're doing NPD, new product development, and we're doing different recipes, and we might sit there on a Friday and they bring a new recipe in. What do you think? And I say, yeah, that's great, that one, isn't it? I love that. I'm the worst person to ask because you don't get any decent feedback from me because I just like them all and I finish them all up. You know, it's like.
Reminds me of conversations at home where Jane might say to me, "Did you enjoy it?" I said, "It was lovely." She said, "Do you know what you've just eaten?" I said, "No, but it tastes nice."
Yeah. No, I do like Christmas puddings, and we had one on Christmas Day, and yeah. The brandy port and walnut is my favourite of the recipes we do. Yeah, I think that's the. A lot of people will disagree with me because of all the things we do, but I like the brandy port and walnut.
So that's what you do during the day.
Yeah.
What do you do during the evenings?
At the moment, I probably spend most of my time, much to the despair of my wife, sitting in front of 3 screens, editing the footage that we filmed for Minis and Motorbikes, because it's a lot more involved than what you first imagine. I don't know quite, when people get the idea of doing a YouTube channel, you think, oh yeah, you just grab a GoPro and you have a bit of a wander around and there's an episode. And that's probably what me and Adam thought when we first started it.
Yeah.
And it's a lot more involved. The filming, the planning of it, the getting the right stuff filmed at the right time, getting it back, getting it pulled over to the computer, getting it edited, adding music to it, re-editing it, getting the sound right, saving it all off and getting it all ready so every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock there's another episode there. And we're managing it.
Yeah.
We are keeping to it. We've had a couple of weeks where we've gone, do you know what? I don't think we're going to get one. We're not going to have time to get it. We're never going to get it. I think we might have to put a thing up on Facebook saying, not an episode this week, wait next week. But we've still managed to do it.
I tell you, I mean, for anyone who hasn't taken a look, you really must go and take a look at the Minis and Motorbikes YouTube channel because it's just fun. It's informative. It's I guess how would I describe it? The chemistry between you and Adam, I think really, really works.
Do you know the history?
No.
Do you want to know the history?
Yes.
So, me and Adam, or Adam and I, if I say it correctly, both grew up in a village, Newport, just outside, the nearest town is Saffron Walden.
Right.
It's about 12 miles south of Cambridge and about 47 miles north of London.
Yeah.
And we grew up it's Franbury Lane, it was, in Newport. And it's an L-shaped road. And Adam lived down the lower section, I lived along the top section. And we both went to the same primary school. And Adam always tells this story because it's kind of like a connection of when we first met. I think it was the first day at primary school. We all had to go through to the hall with do you remember the old black plimsolls with the elastic on the front, back in them days? Yeah. Making myself sound old now, but anyway. And we all went through, and you spent like an hour in the hall, which was they probably called it PE in them days. I think it was throwing a beanbag around on the floor and
this
rolling
was the
around a little bit.
Polished parquet flooring.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like most British schools. Yeah.
Came back to go back to class, so you're getting back to your normal shoes, and Adam was the last one to get ready. Getting a little bit worried. I'm sitting there thinking, he's getting a bit kind of worked up here, and it was because at the time he couldn't do his shoelaces up.
Right.
So I showed him how to do his shoelaces up and did them for him, and that was really like, wind forward 56 years, and we're still doing this and doing Minis and Motorbikes.
Is he okay with
he
his
can do his shoelaces.
shoelaces?
He's absolutely fine. Yeah. He's not got a problem with shoelaces now, but so we've known each other pretty much all our lives.
I think that really comes through the camera with the Minis and Motorbikes channel.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's many times when I say something and I know exactly what Adam's going to say next.
Yeah.
And he says it, and he knows what I'm going to say next. And some people have actually said to us, like, so you're putting an episode out every week. You've got to film it. You've got to edit it. When do you get to write the scripts?
Scripts?
And we go, no, it's all just we're winging it, and there's very little cut out. I would say when we edit it, we tidy it up. There's very little that's cut out because it's just.
Well, it does feel like that you've been invited into the workshop.
Yeah, and one of the things we kind of consciously did from the start was because I'm doing the camera work, I can't be both sides of the camera.
Yeah.
So Adam's the main one after the introduction and all that sort of thing. Yes, we do some interviews and we cut that in. But when we're actually in the workshop, Adam's the main person.
Yeah.
Because I'm behind the camera.
Yeah.
Now, Adam can, and this is no criticism on Adam, it can happen to anybody. When he's been undoing the bolt on the back of an axle for 25 years, it means nothing. So he's just undoing his bolt and he's taking the thing off. And he's not even talking about it. And he'd be talking about, oh, did you see that thing on the telly last night? But the person watching it might actually want to know why he's using that tool, why is he undoing that section, and why isn't he putting this up there?
Which
so
you asked.
I'm the guy at home.
Yeah.
I act like the guy at home. So I'm going, Adam, before you do that, why are you using that tool there? And he goes, well, if I've got to use this tool, haven't I? Because I've got to do this thing on the back, and otherwise it's, oh yeah, I get what you mean now. But why are you taking it off at the back first? Well, we can't take it off at the front because. So I'm like the person that's sitting at home. You know, when you watch Wheeler Dealers or you watch Car SOS or anything like that, and you sit there going, well, I know he's taking the side wheel up, but
why?
Why is he doing that? So I'm the, why are you doing that? Why are you doing? And it makes Adam talk as well because then he's explaining what he's doing. And I'm asking, and we're kind of bouncing off each other again. It's what we've been doing for years.
So, Minis and Motorbikes and Cole's Christmas puddings. How did you get to those two places? So we know that with the Adam thing, that started. But navigate me the process between the two. What were the key moments that got you to where you are now, both in and out of work?
Sales got me into the Christmas puddings.
Okay.
So when I left school, I worked for the family business. My father had a building company.
Right.
And my brother worked for him, and I left school and, naturally went in. Bearing in mind as well, that was at the time, and Adam will back this up, he's an electrician.
Right.
Get a trade.
Right.
Get a trade, you're never going to get out of work. So Adam was being an electrician. I went into the building doing all sorts of. I mean, basically, we were builders and decorators. So we could build a house, we could build an extension. We'd come and decorate, put a new kitchen in, we'd put a roof on. You know, we were fully covering everything. But for those of you that are watching this on YouTube, I'm not very built for building. You know, I'm 5 foot and you know, not really. I can't really mop the work up. So I did the job for about 4.5 years.
Yeah.
But never was really interested in it.
Right.
Heart wasn't really in it. At the time, all I wanted to do was play guitar and be in a band and be in a recording studio, and it was kind of, it keeps everybody quiet to kind of work for the family business, but it wasn't really me. And a friend of mine worked in tailoring.
Right.
And tailoring and menswear, and he said to me, look, you know, I'm moving to another job and they want other people to come. Do you fancy it? And I said to him, well, I'll come along for an interview, because standing in a shop with a suit and tie on, all nice and clean all day, looks in the warm.
Attractive.
It's a lot better than freezing cold roof covered in,
Yeah.
So I went along and I had a chat with them. At the time, they wanted somebody experienced. They wanted somebody that had been in menswear, knew what they were doing, knew the difference between a pair of trousers and a waistcoat. Yeah. And it was, thank you very much. But you know, fair enough. So that was fine. But then I got a call after a couple of days, and they said, no, we really, really liked, you know, when you came down, got on really well with you, really liked you know, your enthusiasm and everything. So do you know what? Look, you know, we'll teach you our way. We'll teach you. So I went into that menswear company and hit the ground running. But, you know, I've always been a watcher. I've always been, how do you do this? How do you do that?
Yeah.
You know, what did you do that for? What, you know,
like the role in Minis and Motorbikes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. You know, how did you just sell 2 suits to that guy? What did he say? What, how did that, you know, and just pick up on it and learn on it. Yeah, it was a great time. I then moved to another menswear place that was setting up. Yeah. So we set all that up and did all of that. And in Cambridge, where we were working, there it was a very well-established bespoke tailors. And we used to walk past that every morning and look at it and go, that's where we need to end up. That's the pinnacle of menswear in our area. No mucking around, none of this.
Bespoke, for anyone who's watching from the States, customised.
Customised, handmade suit.
Yes.
Yeah. You would be measured up, you know, there would be custom patterns cut out. Yeah. You choose your cloth, you choose your buttons, you choose the design, how many pockets, how you want it. It's completely made.
Brilliant.
To your requirements, to fit you. You know, if you've got a friend if you're 40 regular and they're a 40 regular, it won't fit them. It's made to you.
Brilliant.
About a 6 weeks process. Yes, we did off the peg as well, and we also supplied all the colleges in Cambridge with their gowns and hoods,
right, okay. Yeah.
And looked after all the ceremonies at the Senate House, like when they do the MAs and the BAs and all that sort of thing. So it was quite a good mixture, you know, of things, and it was always something interesting to do. And we were always like, we got to end up there. That's the, you know, that's the thing. That's it. And where I was working at the time, there was a guy that worked at this company who knew me, and he walked in and he said, "Where you work?" I said, "I thought you worked." I said, "No, I've changed over here." I said, "Oh no." He said, "We got a job at our place." He said, "Why don't you come along for an interview?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I went along and had about 3 interviews and got the job.
Brilliant.
So I moved over to there, and then my friend Matt, who got me in at the original, like where we were selling Hugo Boss.
Yeah.
We had another job come up, and I pulled him over to us. So the 3 of us were in there working, and I was there for about 8.5 years and learnt all about the ceremonies and the gowns and all that sort of thing and all the menswear side of it. Just loved it. Just loved the kind of, you know, we had a lot of long-term customers, so it wasn't somebody coming in, you didn't even know who they were, they bought a shirt and you never see them again. It was people coming in, and you built up a kind of an understanding of what they liked and what they wanted, and
So
it was a very meet and greet and continue.
So obviously no confidentiality is broken, but most memorable moments during that.
Probably two moments. One was when Neil Innes turned up because he was doing a program called Away with Words.
Right.
And it was, when you had these sayings and where they come from, and he was saying things like they came to the store because one of the things was like no strings attached.
Right.
And where does that come from? And basically, when you've got when you're in Cambridge and you're doing a Cambridge degree,
Yeah.
you wear a undergraduate gown. You have no hood because you
Yes.
only need the gown to dine in formal hall and matriculation photos and when you come to graduate.
Right.
Now, when you come to graduate with your BA after 3 years, you wear the hood of the degree you're about to receive.
Okay.
So if you're getting a BA, you wear your undergraduate gown, as in your gown from Queen's, Peterhouse, Pembroke, King's,
Yep.
so on, and the hood of the degree you're about to receive. Once you get that, you've got a BA gown and a BA hood.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
and that's what you do. And after 3 years, they make you an MA. You don't have to study any further because Cambridge claim that if you get a BA in Cambridge, it's the equivalent of an MA anywhere else.
Right.
So after 3 years, so on. Now, the gown has got two ribbons, one either side,
Okay.
tucked inside, and they're called strings.
Okay.
Okay, so now if you've got a gown with the strings inside,
Yes.
it's a Cambridge gown, the strings are inside, we know you got your degree from Cambridge.
Okay.
If you come from anywhere else, so you do a BA in Durham or Edinburgh or
Yeah.
somewhere like that, and then you decide to move to Cambridge and do an MA or an MPhil or something like that, Cambridge don't recognise any other university.
Right.
So you cannot come to Cambridge and wear a gown from another university.
Right.
So you get awarded a status in Cambridge.
Okay.
Now that depends on your age. And if I remember this correctly, if you're under 24, you're BA status.
Yes.
And if you're over 24, you're MA status, because
Okay.
that's about the sort of age when you get you get converted to an MA. Yeah. Now, if you wear a BA gown with the strings inside, you look like you've got a degree from Cambridge, but you haven't. You've got a degree from somewhere else. So they take the strings out.
Right.
And that's where the no strings
No
attached.
strings attached.
And
so
that's
there's
where that
no
saying
allegiance
comes
to a
from.
particular.
No. So you'd be given a status. Now, as I say, Neil Innes came in and we dressed him all up and we put shirts on him and the wing collar shirt and the gown and the hood and we dressed him all up like a Cambridge PhD and all that sort of thing. And that was kind of a memorable day because initially we knew he was coming. They'd planned it all.
Yeah.
And we were basically just kind of there to kind of look after him and look after the crew and make sure, if they said they were putting a PhD hood on, it was a PhD hood. They weren't getting any facts wrong. And then I just kind of somehow got involved and they wanted me to talk and they started micing me up and suddenly this kind of like, well, I'm just kind of lurking around in the background. Suddenly it was like everyone's sitting at home watching me on this ITV programme, putting gowns and hoods on it. And it was,
So from no strings attached to Christmas puddings.
I just wanted a change.
Right.
I'd just been years and years in menswear and, I just thought, do I want to retire doing...
There was an itch.
I don't know. And I remember sitting there with my wife, and I said, "Look, I don't want to sit here moaning. I don't want to be months and months and months of like, so I need to do something about it." So I think it was Christmas time, and I said, "Do you know what? By Easter, I want to be doing something else.
Right.
And if I'm not, then stop moaning about it. You've made your bed, lie in it. You're going to be in menswear for the rest of your life."
Yeah.
And I had a phone call from a friend of mine that I hadn't spoken to for absolutely years. He, paths just weren't crossing. And he worked in a car dealership, quite a big group. And I'm being very careful not to name all these companies and stuff like that. And he phoned me up and he said, "What are you up to?" And I said, "Well, I'm doing this and that." I said, "But, I'm thinking about a change. Do you want to come and sell cars?" Yeah, I'll have a talk about it. I've always loved cars. I've always had interest in cars. Yeah, it sounds like a great idea, because I love selling. I love cars. put the two together. This is brilliant. So I went down and had a chat with him, and he said, right, we'll do this, and this, and that. And I said, yeah, go on then. And he said, right, sign here. I've already filled your form in, sort of thing. And I started a month later and was selling Peugeot cars.
Right.
And the memorable moment with that is that after about 2 weeks, I suddenly realised that although I'd been selling menswear virtually all my life, I wasn't a salesman. It was quite obvious that I was completely out of my depth.
Right.
And I've got to start using my ears and eyes and learning again.
Right.
And
so
don't
it's
think,
different.
Yeah,
so it's different.
You couldn't sit there saying, "Oh, I've been doing sales for years. I know what I'm doing." I wouldn't have survived.
Right.
It's a totally different game.
Right.
Not only do you have to know the product like any product that you sell, but there was there's without giving anything too much away, there's a degree of psychology and talk and how you talk to people.
Yeah.
And when a husband and wife comes in, the obvious person isn't always the boss. And it's in those first 10 minutes, 15 minutes, working out who's really the decision maker here. Is this a want or a need? Has this guy come in or has this woman come in because she needs a car, because she's just got a job, and she starts on Monday and she can't get there and she needs a car? Or does she just want the latest car or or want the new car? What is it? What's the motivation for buying this car?
Yeah. So it's not just it's not just a transactional process. There's a human element.
Yeah.
Which I guess there must have been in the menswear stuff, that building of a rapport and making the person feel at ease.
Oh, you could take a lot through.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. You could take a lot of that experience and a lot of history and what you did, but that wasn't gonna cut it. That wasn't gonna, when you can't, you've got to sell cars. That dealership might have 4 car salesmen in there. It has to take money.
Yeah.
It was not going to survive, and you can't have a weak link. And after about 2 weeks, I knew I was the weak link in that showroom without a doubt.
Right.
So what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You're going to buy a book on how to sell cars? I don't know if there was one that existed at the time. But I very quickly discovered that there was a guy who worked in that showroom. I don't know if I'm going to. I won't name him because he'll only probably, or it won't embarrass him, because I don't think I ever saw him embarrassed about anything. But he knew how to sell cars.
Yeah.
He had it.
Yeah.
So I literally sat in the desk behind him and watched him and listened to him and followed him around the showroom.
Pattern.
To the point.
Same pattern again.
To the point where I had a customer in one Saturday, and I'd been sitting there for about 2.5 hours with him, because to be fair, that was the average time span to sell a car. And when the customer shook my hand and walked away, he turned around because he had his back to me and he said, "You're using all my lines." It's like, what is going? You're absolutely killing me. You're using everything. And I said, "Look, I've got to survive." And initially, we didn't get on very well, and I think he'll admit that we did not get on very well. I think there was, you got 4 guys in the showroom, but you're 4 independent people.
Yeah.
You've got your desk, you've got your phone, and a customer walks in, and it's like being self-employed. So there's no love lost between looking after other car salesmen.
Yeah.
If you can step over them to get to a sale,
then
you do it. Do you know what I mean? So I think there was that kind of
dog eat dog almost thing.
Yeah. But as people come and went, and other people came and left, and the 2 of us were both still there, things changed, and we started helping each other out. And if he wasn't there one day, I'd hand a car out for him, and he'd do the same for me. And this kind of rivalry turned into more of a friendship. And at the time when we both left, we actually both handed our notice in on the same day, which was I had my letter of resignation in my pocket, and I literally went over to him and I said, just to let you know, I said, I'm handing my notice in today. And he went, "I'm getting in first." He literally went straight in the office and handed his notice. I was like, what? Yeah.
And was that just because you'd already decided that you had sights on something else?
Yeah, I wasn't enjoying the job.
Right.
There was many a times when I phoned up my wife and said, "Right, I'm putting my coat on, I'm coming home." She said, "No."
Right. Okay.
You know, we got mortgages, we got children, and
Yeah.
you know, and I was like, I just wasn't enjoying it. I wasn't enjoying the hours. I wasn't enjoying the pressure, and I really didn't know whether it was where I worked or whether it was the job.
Yeah.
So a job came up in Bishop Stortford for another car manufacturer, and I went along and I got the job because the experience I'd had and so on and so on. So I was ready to go. Had him a notice in, going to do a month, moving over to Nissan and sell Nissan cars. And about a week later, Chris Cole, who is obviously Chris Cole, and he'd been wandering down and looking at cars, and he was in Peugeot. And I was in the valeting bay out the back, sorting out a car ready to hand over the next day. And I came walking through the showroom, and he went, "Oh, hello, Mark, how are you?" And I said, yeah, Chris. And I knew Chris through the menswear shops that I'd worked in.
Right, okay.
You know, and, you know, growing up in Newport, living in Saffron Walden, Chris lived in Great Chesterford, just down the road, and spent time in Saffron Walden. And he came in and he used the Saffron Walden shop and so on and so on. So I kind of knew Chris. So I said, "Oh, hello, Chris. Yeah, how are you?" He said, he said, what are you picking up? I said, "Sorry?" He said, what car are you getting? I said, I'm not getting a car, Chris. I work here." And he said, "What?" He said, "I thought you were menswear." And I went, I had a bit of an itch and decided to come over to sell cars and have a bit of a change. He said, "If I'd have known that, I'd have offered you a job." And I kind of went, "I'll start on Monday." And he sort of laughed. And we all went, "Yeah, nice to see you, Chris." And off he went. And I see him go out on the front where the used cars were on the front, and he's like looking around and he's on his mobile phone. And he came back and he said, "Can we talk?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "You want to have a look at that blue 207 out in the front, don't you?" And he went, I said, yeah, I'll get the keys. Yeah, he didn't, just so we can go outside. And he said, "Yeah, come down to the house tonight." He said, "And we'll have a chat." He said, "There might be a sales job for you." So I went down to his house in Chesterford, and he said, "Yeah." He said, "Come and work for me, sell Christmas puddings." He said, "You know, we need someone else in the team, and I think it'd be really good."
And that was it. So
the money was good. I got a car to drive around in, so that was good. And it was Monday to Friday.
Right.
9 to 5, Monday to Friday. Now, wow, I've worked every Saturday since I could remember. And in the car industry, you're working Sundays as well.
So then you had time to do...
Yeah, I woke up on a Saturday morning, it was like having a holiday. It's like 2 days off. It was unbelievable. It was like at the end of every week you had a holiday. It was fantastic. And I was off in the car driving around, going to farm shops and delis and selling Christmas puddings and driving up to sort of like the Birmingham area around there and coming back down the A14 and listening to the radio in the car, and it was, you know, and I remember, again, a memorable moment. I think I was travelling between Newcastle and Carlisle, and Chris Cole phoned me up, and I thought, oh, here we go, he wants to know what I've sold, how much I've sold, what profit we made, you know, and he said to me, "Hello, Mark," he said, "Are you enjoying yourself?" I said, yes, and he went, "Fantastic, see you soon," put the phone down. It was like...
Brilliant. You're happy, he's happy.
Yeah, it was great, and and it just worked really well. And then kind of Chris was looking after the bigger accounts, as in like, you know, a department store in London, a well-known department stores in London, and then he gradually started kind of handing these things out. "Oh, do you want to look after that one? Do you want to look after that one? And we're not in this one. Do you want to go and give that a bit of a, you know, see if you can get a sale in there and that sort of thing." And then he had a little bit of a health scare, which made him stop and think. And the upshot of that was that we were taken over, I think it was September, November time of 2010 by the Wilkin & Sons Group, which you probably know better as Tiptree Jam.
Right, okay.
And Tiptree Marmalades and Tiptree Sauces and all that thing. So we're part of that Wilkin & Sons Group, yeah.
And you're still loving it?
Yeah. So, and as where people move around and opportunities come up, I've now ended up in the main chair, which is a bit scary and a bit worrying at times. And but yeah,
it's all good. The thread that seems to run all the way through this, it's all about relationships. It was.
Yeah, and luck.
Yeah.
You never know what's around the corner.
You don't.
It's a big thing. Adam has really, referring back to what me and Adam do, sometimes, we all do. We can all get a bit down sometimes, and we can all go, oh, yeah. And I always say to them, look, you never know what's around the corner. You could wake up tomorrow and there could be some marvellous thing happen. Don't miss it. You never know what's around the corner.
So,
and I'm a living that you never know what's around the corner. No,
that's brilliant.
No, and then that leads us on obviously to Minis and Motorbikes without jumping in too much. But with the friendship I had with Adam, I had more time. I was still continuing to play guitars and record stuff, and I kind of had a little setup at home where I can record. Was using Cubase at the time and doing music and songs. And, and Adam said to me one day, he said, well, can I sing on one of the songs? And he came in and we did some vocals, and Adam sung on 2 or 3 songs, and they're up on a different YouTube thing. I think there's some up on SoundCloud. We use SoundCloud to post some music up on. And then he was saying, I really want to get back into racing. The history of Adam, there's
I remember him on his episode,
exactly, and winning the Super Coupe Cup and doing all that sort of thing, and like anything, you get older, life changes, opportunities change, and he kind of, for want of a better phrase, kind of drifted away a little bit from motorsport, but still very much in his head and his heart.
Yeah.
And he wanted to come back. He wanted to have another go. He wanted to build a Mini and race this Mini in the Mini Challenge. And he said to me, do you know what? He said, it's a real shame. I haven't got a lot of photos, or, and in them days you didn't have a video camera, or I haven't got paper magazine cuttings. I haven't really kept any history of what I did. So when I'm building this Mini now, I want to take some photos of the stages. So what camera should I get? And I said to him, well, I could recommend a few cameras to you, but what's it going to... And he said, well, could you come and take the photos?
Right.
And I said to him, yeah, okay, I'll come down on a Wednesday and a Sunday, I'll take some photos. If there's not much progress, I won't come, just let me know. If not, I'll come down.
And that was the start of
And that was really the start of it. So there was no plan. There was no Minis and Motorbikes at that stage. We never sat round a table and said, we're going to do this YouTube channel. It came about because I then said, do you know what, I could film you putting the bonnet on or taking the seat out. And instead of giving that to you and you putting it on your laptop and maybe the laptop drops on the floor and then you've lost it all again, why don't we put it up on YouTube? Let's not make it private. Let's just public. Let's keep it private. And you can just basically use YouTube servers to store the footage, and then you can watch it whenever you want. He said, I'll leave it up to you. He said, you sound like you've got that licked. You know what you're doing. And we did that, and I said, well, people might want to watch it. You never know. You've got all these wheeler dealers and Car SOS and Gas Monkey and all that in America. You never know. And Adam at the time was like, well, I'm not really come on, have a go. Don't worry about it. And that's what we did. And it just grew, and we started putting titles in, and we started interviewing people, and we got in front of several people and did interviews, and we approached Steve Parish, and he said yes, which we couldn't believe. Couldn't believe we were driving down to see Steve Parish and sit in his house and interview him. It was just not. We just couldn't believe our luck. And it's just gone from there, and we're now on our 100th episode. So it's and we're learning all the time.
And I say it again, do go check out the Minis and Motorbikes YouTube channel. It is definitely. It's a great watch.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Yeah, absolutely. So time marches. I want to ask you just a couple of final questions, which we usually do on the channel. So the first one is, Mark, imagine we could conquer time travel, and you could write a letter for your younger version of Mark to find. What would you write in that note to yourself?
I think I'd write 2 things if I can, if I've got enough ink in the pen. The first thing I think I'd write would be, don't worry, it all turns out all right.
Brilliant.
It's all good. I'm very lucky. It's you know, I've got a job I like.
Yeah.
I've got a great wife. I've got 2 fantastic kids. I shouldn't call them. They're adults now, but you don't say I've got 2 adults, do you? And yeah, I've enjoyed myself. I get to do lots of things that I want to do. I've still got lots of things I want to do. But yeah, I'd say don't worry. Don't be too worried about the future because it turns out all right.
Brilliant.
It's good. The second thing I'd probably write is do Minis and Motorbikes earlier. Phone Adam up now and start doing it now while you're young. Because we could be sitting on Minis and Motorbikes now for 10 years with much bigger viewers, much bigger subscription base, having some income coming in from it, which would fund some of the builds we want to do and be in a better position than probably what we are now. It's do it now. Don't put it off.
Okay, final question. So this season we've been asking guests to leave a guest for a future guest. So here's one for you. They don't know who's going to have to answer this, by the way. So here's one we've had left recently. What would be the figure for you to stop doing what you're doing?
In money, you mean, in a value? Yeah, that's tricky. Because I've always said that if I ever came into money or had money, I'd like to help people.
Right.
Because me and Adam very often sit there, you know, going, if we could get some help from this person, if we could get some help from that person, you know, so much more we could do. And we know people. Yeah. We know some young guys that are really good drivers, really, really good at driving and driving carts and so on. And if they had the backing and some help, you'd see them up there. And it's such a worry that these people don't get help and don't get backing, and the parents can't give them, you know, that financial help, and you never see anything of them. And
so you would push that money somewhere else.
Yeah, so it wouldn't necessarily be you saying, "Oh, look, you know, give me £1 million and I'll stop what I'm doing now." I don't know whether that would be enough, because I'd want to help others. I'd want to say, look, you know, I've got this money. What do you need? What can you do? I don't know.
Oh, that's a great answer.
You know,
I love that.
You know, I just feel it's so disappointing sometimes when you see people with talent who just don't get on, because unfortunately the way of the world is you need money to do everything. Every way you turn around, you need money.
Particularly in motorsport.
Exactly in motorsport. Exactly in motorsport. And unfortunately, you know, there's a lot of people in motorsport that have obviously got a degree of talent. Don't get me wrong. You don't get to go around that circuit and finish if you haven't got a certain amount of talent. But
you need the backing.
Yeah, you do. Otherwise, you're going to get nowhere.
Mark, it has been an absolute pleasure to have the conversation with you. Your enthusiasm, as I've said it to both of you before, is infectious. So, you know, please go and look at the Minis and Motorbikes channel and see Mark and Adam doing what they do best, which is bringing you into their garage. So, Mark, thanks ever so much for taking the time out today.
Thanks for talking to me.
Fantastic.
Thanks for talking to me. Hope to see you soon.
Yeah. And another race circuit, I'm sure, somewhere.
Yes, very soon, I think.
Yes. So there you go. That was One Thought at a Time with our guests this week, who can bring us a taste of Christmas and also a very, very entertaining and engaging YouTube channel. So if you have been, thanks for listening.